1890s, before penicillin, before hope. A woman's face, ravaged by syphilis in its final stage. Disease as death sentence. Medicine as distant dream. The pre-antibiotic era, captured in suffering. Geneva, 1955. The Swiss delegation at Atoms for Peace, including physicist Paul Scherrer. Nations gather to harness the atom for good, just 10 years after using it to erase cities. Redemption or illusion. Western Front, World War I, Adolf Hitler, far right. Among message runners of the 16th Bavarian Reserve Regiment. Before the mustache. Before the madness. Before the Reich. Just another face in the mud and wire. What happened on the streets of this next city would become one of nature's strangest disasters. Early 1900s, Copenhagen. Amatørtorv Square, before the wars, before the occupations. Cobblestones in commerce. A world about to shatter, frozen in glass-plate innocence. Slavutic, Ukraine. Chernobyl anniversary. These are the liquidators. Men who walked into radiation to save a continent. Heroes measured in millisieverts. Many absorbed doses that would kill them slowly, invisibly. Moscow, 1908. The Moskva River swallows the city. Boats navigate past the Kremlin as water claims streets and homes. Empire versus nature. Nature wins, temporarily. Meanwhile, across Europe, a different kind of violence was brewing. December 17, 1973. Rome Fiumicino Airport aftermath. Pan Am Flight 110 destroyed on the tarmac by Palestinian militants. 32 dead. The birth of modern airport security. Written in jet fuel and blood. Western Front, World War I. Trench foot. Flesh rotting from cold. Wet filth. Not bullets, mud. Thousands lost limbs not to combat, but to standing water and neglect. October 12, 1928. The Iron Lung. Philip Dringer's life-saving prison. Polio victims paralyzed, breathing only through mechanical pressure. Some lived inside these metal coffins for decades. Survival at what cost? Australia, 1924. Sydney Skickerman's mugshot. Cold eyes staring through time. Criminal then, criminal now. Some things never change. Late 19th century. An opium den. 2 women, 1 man, pipes glowing. Addiction as recreation, openly. Before laws, before stigma. Just business. What you're about to see next was banned for decades. January 12, 1928. Sing Sing Prison. Ruth Snyder. The only photograph of an execution by electric chair. A reporter smuggled a camera, strapped to his ankle. 2,000 volts. The New York Daily News ran it front page. Forbidden, unforgettable. 1869 to 1938. Mary Mallon. Typhoid Mary. Irish cook, American killer. She infected up to 122 people, killed at least 3. Asymptomatic carrier, immune herself. Caught, released. Caught again cooking under false names. Finally quarantined for life. Early 1900s X-ray of a 2-year-old with rickets. Bones bowed, density fading. Malnutrition made visible through radiation. Poverty captured in skeletal geometry. Pennsylvania, 1908 child coal miners. Boys as young as 8. Faces black with dust and exhaustion. 12-hour shifts in darkness. Childhood sacrificed to coal and profit. 1869, West Riding Lunatic Asylum, Yorkshire. Asterisk asterisk a patient strapped in a restraint chair. Victorian psychiatry, torture by another name. Asylums as warehouses for the inconvenient. As nations armed for the next war. Even infants needed protection. England, 1938. A gas mask designed for babies. Grotesque, terrifying, necessary. Europe preparing for poison from above. The mask that hoped it would never be needed. June 8, 1972. Trang Bong, Vietnam. The terror of war. 9-year-old Kim Phuc runs naked, her back burning from napalm. Behind her, screaming children. This single frame turned a nation against its war. The girl survived. The war did not. But the most incredible survival story was still floating in the Atlantic. 1943, Atlantic Ocean, asterisk asterisk Poon Lim on his life raft. Photographed during Navy reconstruction. The real story, 133 days adrift after a German torpedoed. September 2nd, 1945. USS Missouri. Japanese Foreign Minister Mamoru Shigemitsu signs the instrument of surrender. His hand trembles. Lieutenant General Sutherland watches from across the table. The war that killed 70 million ends with ink and silence. March 19th, 1945. Pacific Theater. USS Franklin erupts in flames after a Japanese air attack. 724 men killed in minutes. USS Santa Fe pulls alongside, firefighters battling an inferno on water. The carrier survived. Barely. June 1944. South of Auxelles, France. *** Canadian Sherman tank crew near Caen. Young faces, older eyes. Normandy's liberation measured in meters and lives. These boys became men in fire and hedgerow. But one structure would defy total annihilation. April 24th, 1945. Cologne, Germany. The Kölner Dom stands amid absolute devastation. The cathedral hit repeatedly, damaged severely, yet refuses to fall. Everything around it dust. The railway station, Hohenzollern Bridge, entire blocks erased. One spire standing in an ocean of ruins. World War II montage. Wangeling. El Alamein. Stalingrad's frozen hell. Wilhelm Keitel signing Germany's surrender. Lingayen Gulf invasion. 5 images. 6 years. 60 million dead. The war that consumed the world. Behind every battle, mechanics kept the machines of war alive. Royal Navy, World War II. Petty Officer Airfitters Harvey and Hughes. Grease-stained hands, focused eyes. These men didn't fly missions. They made missions possible. 1861, Queen's Farm, near Fort Slocum, Washington, D.C. A family lives in a tent alongside the 31st Pennsylvania Infantry. Wives, children, washerwomen, they followed the army. Tent cities stretched for miles. War wasn't just soldiers. It was entire communities on the move. Nashville, Tennessee. 2 wounded federal soldiers receive care from and Belle, a Civil War nurse. Women weren't supposed to be on battlefields. They came anyway. Thousands served as nurses, cooks, laundresses. The wounded needed them more than protocol mattered. August 1862. Fugitive slaves ford the Rappahannock River. Families escaped into Union territory, following the Army north. Men, women, children, crossing rivers, walking miles, carrying everything. Freedom meant risk. Staying meant slavery. Richmond, Virginia. The ruins of Franklin Paper Mill and Arsenal. Confederate infrastructure destroyed, whether by Union artillery or Confederate scorched earth. The result was the same, a capital reduced to rubble. But the real story wasn't in the ruins. It was in the faces of those who survived. Camp scene. Union soldiers guard Confederate prisoners. Thousands of men captured, held in makeshift camps. Disease killed more prisoners than bullets. Andersonville, Camp Douglas, Elmira, names that became synonymous with suffering on both sides. Army of the Potomac headquarters. General Ambrose Burnside reads a newspaper. Beside him, photographer Matthew Brady stands near a tree. Brady documented the war relentlessly, going bankrupt in the process. His obsession gave us history. Cold Harbor, Virginia. Lieutenant General Ulysses S. Grant stands beside a tree in front of his tent. The man who would end the war. He looks tired. Cold Harbor cost him 7,000 men in 1 hour. Victory demanded a price he was willing to pay. Ringgold Battery on drill. Artillery crews practice their deadly craft. Load, aim, fire. 12-pound Napoleon cannons could tear through infantry lines. Crews drilled constantly. Speed meant survival. 1863. A Civil War camp scene showing the company kitchen. Soldiers gather around cooking fires. Hardtack, salt pork, coffee when they could get it. Men joked that the hardtack was hard enough to stop bullets. They weren't entirely wrong. Petersburg, Virginia, 1864. Soldiers at rest after drill. Some read letters from home. Others play cards. A few sleep in the sun. These quiet moments between battles, this was most of war. Boredom, waiting, longing for home. 7 unidentified soldiers in Union uniforms pose with drum and stacked rifles. Young faces stare at the camera. Most were farmers before the war. They would be old men after, if they survived. The drum beside them belonged to a boy too young to carry a rifle. August 1863. General Hospital, Gettysburg. 1 month after the battle. Wounded men still fill the wards. Arms and legs amputated without anesthesia. Infections spreading. Survival rates depended more on luck than medical care. Medicine in 1863 was barely more advanced than the Middle Ages. 1864. Ambulance drill of the 57th New York Infantry. Soldiers practice evacuating wounded from the field. Horse-drawn ambulances bounced over rough terrain. The wounded screamed with every bump. Many died before reaching the hospital. Carver General Hospital, Washington, D.C. A ward filled with iron beds. Wounded soldiers recuperate in rows. Clean sheets were a luxury. Proper ventilation saved more lives than surgery. Florence Nightingale's theories were just reaching America. Falmouth, Virginia, 1863. Foreign military observers gather with Major General George Stoneman. European powers watched America's war closely. The tactics, the weapons, the carnage, lessons they would apply in their own conflicts decades later. A military affairs record from the Union Army. Documentation of regiments, battles, commanders. The bureaucracy of war. For every soldier in combat, 3 more handled logistics, supplies, paperwork. Modern warfare required modern administration. Brandy Station, Virginia. The Commissary Department at Army of the Potomac Headquarters. Mountains of supplies. Barrels, crates, wagons. An army of 100,000 men consumed tons of food daily. Logistics won wars as much as bullets. Chattanooga, 1864. Men of the Quartermaster's Department build transport steamers on the Tennessee River. Bridges, boats, railroads. Engineers constructed the infrastructure of invasion. Sherman's march to the sea succeeded because of men like these. March 1865. Clara Barton, Union nurse. She treated wounded at Antietam while bullets flew overhead. After the war, she founded the American Red Cross. One woman who refused to stay home changed battlefield medicine forever. Dr. Mary Edwards Walker, the only woman to receive the Medal of Honor. She wore men's clothing, performed surgery on battlefields, and was arrested multiple times for dressing inappropriately. She never apologized. She never stopped. Susie King Taylor, the first African-American Army nurse. Born enslaved, she escaped to Union lines and taught soldiers to read while treating their wounds. Her story remained hidden for generations. History tried to forget her, but the youngest faces in these photographs tell the most heartbreaking stories. An unidentified young soldier in Confederate infantry uniform, possibly a drummer boy. He looks 15 at most. Boys lied about their ages to enlist. Some were as young as 12. They carried drums, not rifles, but bullets didn't discriminate. Annapolis, U.S. General Hospital. An emaciated prisoner of war from Belle Isle, Richmond. Skin stretched over bones. Eyes hollow. Prisoner exchange broke down in 1863. Men starved in camps on both sides. This is what survival looked like. Full-length portrait of an unidentified Civil War soldier. Photographed by J.P. Ball, 30, West 4th Street. Ball was one of the most successful African-American photographers of the era. These portraits were often the last images families received before a telegram arrived. A young Civil War soldier in kepi. 3/4 portrait, 9th plate tintype. Tintypes were cheap, durable. Soldiers carried them into battle. Mothers kept them on mantles. Small metal rectangles, holding entire lives. An unidentified soldier in Confederate jacket. Photographed between 1861 and 1865. 16th plate tintype. Gray wool uniform, already worn. The Confederacy struggled to supply its soldiers. By 1865, some fought in rags. An unidentified soldier in Confederate uniform. 6th plate tintype, hand-colored. Someone paid extra for color. Red cheeks, blue eyes. An attempt to preserve life in a photograph. He wanted to be remembered in color, not just shades of gray. Corporal Naylor of the 13th Pennsylvania Cavalry, USA. Named, ranked, remembered. Most soldiers in these photographs remain unidentified. Anonymous faces staring across 160 years. Corporal Naylor got lucky. Someone wrote down his name. Colonel Samuel Bell Maxey of the 9th Texas Infantry, Confederate States of America, promoted to general in 1862. By 1863, he commanded the Indian Territory Military District. The Confederacy recruited Native American allies. The war fractured tribes as much as it divided the nation. An unidentified soldier in Confederate shell jacket, photographed between 1861 and 1865. The shell jacket, shorter, more practical than the frock coat. Confederate uniforms varied wildly. Some gray, some butternut brown, some cobbled together from whatever remained. While soldiers posed for portraits, a revolution in warfare was unfolding on the battlefield. Field telegraph station. Wires stretched across battlefields. For the first time in history, commanders communicated instantly across hundreds of miles. Information traveled faster than horses. The telegram changed warfare forever. U.S. Military Telegraph Construction Corps, hanging telegraph wire. Photographer Timothy O'Sullivan documented the process. Men climbed poles under fire. Confederate raiders targeted telegraph lines constantly. Cut the wires, blind the enemy. Petersburg, Virginia. Field telegraph battery wagon. Mobile communication. The wagon carried equipment, operators, guards. Telegraph operators became high-value targets. Killing the messenger meant killing the message. USS Baron de Kalb, an Eads-class ironclad. Iron plating over wooden frames. Cannons and rotating turrets. The age of wooden warships ended on American rivers. These monsters controlled the Mississippi, splitting the Confederacy in half. April 3rd, 1865. The burning and evacuation of Richmond. Confederate forces set their own capital ablaze, rather than let it fall intact. Warehouses, arsenals, government buildings torched. The fire spread beyond control. Richmond burned for 3 days. Fredericksburg, Virginia vicinity. The Barnard House, destroyed during the First Battle. Civilian homes became fortresses, then ruins. Families evacuated. Artillery shelled buildings to rubble. War consumed everything in its path. Petersburg, Virginia. Earthworks in front of the town. 9 months of siege warfare. Trenches, bunkers, fortifications. The Confederacy dug in. The Union dug deeper. 50 years before World War I, Petersburg previewed trench warfare's horror. Charleston, South Carolina, 1865. Ruins of the Northwestern Railroad Depot. Photographed under supervision of General Richard Delafield, Chief Engineer, United States Army. The systematic documentation of destruction. Military engineers recorded every demolished building, every torn-up rail line. More ruins in Charleston. The city where secession began ended in ashes. Confederate artillery, Union bombardment, accidental fires. Charleston suffered it all. By 1865, entire blocks stood empty. Burned-out shells of buildings. Charleston, South Carolina. Ruins of the Church of St. John and St. Finbar, and Secession Hall. Secession Hall, where South Carolina voted to leave the Union in December 1860. For years later, the building that started the war lay in ruins. Poetic justice or tragic irony. Columbia, South Carolina. Ruins, number 2. Sherman's army burned Columbia in February 1865. Soldiers claimed drunken Confederates started the fires. Confederates blamed Sherman. The city burned regardless. 2/3 of Columbia destroyed in one night. Atlanta, Georgia. Ruins of the depot, blown up on Sherman's departure. November 1864. Sherman's men destroyed everything of military value. Railroad tracks heated and twisted around trees. Sherman's neckties. Atlanta smoldered for days. Bull Run, Virginia. Ruins of the Stone Bridge. 2 major battles fought here. July 1861, August 1862. The Stone Bridge became a landmark, a symbol. Armies fought to control it, destroyed it, fought over the ruins. Richmond, Virginia. Ruins in front of the Capitol. Confederate attempts to burn the city caused destruction throughout downtown. The Richmond Canal Basin fills the foreground, later filled in, paved over. The city rebuilt on top of its own ashes. August 17, 1864. Andersonville Prison, Georgia. South view of the stockade. 33,000 Union prisoners crammed into 26 acres. No shelter, no sanitation, No clean water. Men died at a rate of 100 per day. The deadliest prison in American history. One photograph would reveal the true horror of Andersonville. August 17, 1864. Photographer A.J. Riddle documents burials outside Andersonville. The dead soldier in the foreground has been identified. Private Leander Bradley Farnham, 1st Vermont Heavy Artillery, one of nearly 13,000 Union soldiers who died here. Shallow graves stretched across acres. The Geneva Convention didn't exist yet. U.S. General Hospital, Annapolis. An emaciated prisoner of war released from Belle Isle Prison, Richmond. Skin stretched over skeleton. Eyes sunken. Barely alive. Northern newspapers published these images. Public outrage exploded. The South claimed northern prisons were just as bad. They weren't wrong.